idea that we have, Hans and I over here, is to talk to you about what we see as a benefit that we could gain from a digital validation tool, right? And the idea of it is it should need to be as engaging as possible. We understand it's towards at the end of the day, so everyone's a bit tired. So there's a bit of a survey activity here and there, and then we can talk it through as we get your thoughts about it, and then we just share what we see. So I'm going to go all digital. If I click on my phone, you should go ahead.
So this one showing a little bit of an agenda for this workshop, right? As June said, we want to do a bit of a survey to gauge the crowd and understand how you're using Paperless. What do you think of it? So that would be a QR code on the screen, which you can scan. You won't have to make any account. It straight away pops up with the quiz. You can tap your answers, so it's quite easy. We'll talk a little bit about what we want to achieve, the objective, right? What's the purpose? What are we trying to give you, or what we're trying to give to you towards the end of the workshop? And then we'll go into the discussion points. We've got 3 lined up, 3 scenarios, 3 situations where we compare the paper solution versus the paperless. We have the paperless environment. In this case, we're going to use Neat as a showcase. So we have that environment ready to show you live how that works. Workshop, it was a bit too difficult to give each of you, an account to try it out yourself, to be a bit more hands-on. So we're going to try it this way. And then after that engagement, we'll do the post-workshop survey to see if there's any difference in your mindset, basically. And then we'll summarize with the key takeaways.
Okay, so I'm using a platform called Mentimeter, so you can scan on the QR code, phones out, that's great. Right? Okay, have you used any paperless system before? Digital signatures, electronic document? Okay, just to have a gauge of the room, right? How digitally attuned are we, right?
And it doesn't necessarily need to be electronic validation, right? Just
yeah, we're just wanting to know like the feeling of this room, whether yay or nay, right? Okay, yes, and I love it. So is that presentation finished, right? Because
our work here is done.
Right, so good. So we can see like you are here, and we like that there is already leaning forward to say like, okay, everyone has some form of experience with digital system, so that's good. The next question, what are your initial thoughts on transitioning paperless environment? Excited, I'm looking forward to the benefits and efficiency it will bring. Optimistic but cautious, I see the potential benefits. Skeptical, that's good again, it's making this workshop a little bit easier for us to go on. How do you think going paperless will impact your current workflow and processes? Right, somewhat positive, there will be some improvement, but also some adjustment needed. Again, good. We're seeing the positive response from the team. So we are seeing like highly positive and somewhat positive, and that's where Hans and I want to bring to you some examples that we can talk about to see how we can move more somewhat positive into highly positive, because we do understand the challenges transitioning from what you're currently doing to a paperless environment. Okay, right, we're gonna move to the next slide. Right. Now, do you agree that transitioning to paperless C&Q execution leads to increased savings? Right, and this is really the topic that we want to talk about today. Whether it's tangible savings or intangible savings, this is something that you can see. Okay, so if, throughout our engagement, any comments are welcome, right? So we are open. You can ask in the middle as we are going through this slide. Happy to take on some of the comments and make it a bit more as interactive as it can be. Okay, so that is the not really. That's the part that we want to try to engage in this group, to see like the ideas that we give can really help, that we have a conversation about it in this group or outside of this group. Okay?
Yeah, it'd be good when we get to the discussion points. If the people that are saying somewhat or not really, feel free to raise your hand and share your thoughts why you say, okay, no, what's holding you back to see it that way, right? And then we can talk about that.
Okay, so the interactive activity is done. So hopefully everyone is awake a little bit. Some phone exercise, finger exercise, that's good. So again, the objective of what we're trying to do today, right, is really to understand, or at least for you to get an idea of what we think about return on investment on paperless execution using NEAT, right? Finally, at the end of it, we just want to give you a food of thought so that we start to think about the costs of using digital validation such as NEAT and the cost of not doing so, moving into the digitalization age. Understand paperless CQV using NEAT as a tool. Again, just a general idea, how with a couple of examples, and we'll try to relate to what everyone in the room has done before in paper system or somewhat paperless system, and find an answer to our topic today, which we did have a good indication that in the room everyone is positive about it, right? And there's some skeptic that we see in the survey, and how we can get out from this with a positive experience. Right, so when we want to say about realizing a cost savings or not, we should need to have a basis of doing to make the comparison. Now we will take one example, review and approval process, right? Paper versus paperless.
So what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about how the process is before, when you're working before needs, right? For example. Then when we've got that, we'll make some assumptions on how we do it, and then we'll show, for example, how it goes, how it's done electronically, and then we'll show. We'll debate a little bit, or we'll talk between ourselves or with the room about what's the pros and cons and where are the gains, and those gains is what's gonna bring you the costs, the return on the investment, the cost reduction.
Sure. Right. So as most of you would have had this experience before, now I'm making a very general assumption because everyone is in this session. I'm assuming that you have gone through the traditional review and approval process, right? Who here is full paper now with your review and approval process? Nobody. Who here is email for your review and approval process? Also nobody. It's everybody on a digital system. Wow, you're making our script a bit challenging. Okay, so we're just going to go through the motion anyway, right? Just so that it's not a sketch, right?
Oh yeah.
We try to make it as light-hearted as possible, but for the review and approval process on paper, maybe Hans, you can say how you experience it.
Let's say I'm an engineer, right? And a couple of years ago, I'm drafting a document on my PC in Word. I have it saved locally. They've given me a URS and I need to write a C&Q document, right? And I've drafted it and I've got a Word version, and I'm going to send a copy to certain people, and I send it out, all get a copy, and that's how let's assume that's how the review process works at the moment, right? Each of the persons gets the review. So, and then I get back after a while, maybe I have to chase a few people. I get that copy back, and I have all my comments of all the people, and I try to consolidate all of them and update the document and send it out again, etc. So there's a few things. Let's assume that as the baseline for the paper way, even though it's through email, right? Let's assume that that's the basis. So a few challenges that I always have with that is human error, of course. I might have accidentally sent the wrong version out, or I might have actually, I have to figure out with Word a lot of formatting, layouting, maybe a blank Word document, or if there's a template, that's great. And then you put in all your details, and I have to do that, myself, skilled as an engineer, having experience, I bring that value, right? I go into my email, I send it out, maybe by accident there's two Adrians or something, and I send it to the wrong one, I have to follow up again. I don't know when they've received those documents, whether they are actually starting the review, if they're going through, what comments they might have already while the review is ongoing. So the review might take, depending on what you've agreed between your stakeholders, maybe let's say 3 days, 4 days. While those reviews are happening, I'm hoping that everything's going smooth, that they're progressing with it. After a couple of days, I go back and say, hey, I might have gotten one person to give me back my comments. I'm addressing those already. The others are not aware of the comments that one reviewer has given. I'm addressing those comments directly with that reviewer, and they might not know. Now, in the end, I'll try and do consolidate a session with all of them and maybe have the key topics discussed, but I don't have that visibility. After 3 days, I might be chasing someone else like, oh, I missed your email, didn't see it, I didn't start my review, and I have to wait for them to finish it. And there might be a few rounds of this, right? So that's a little bit, that's as an example, that could be a paper way of doing initiating the review. And then at one point I'll probably have to consolidate all the comments into a spreadsheet to show to everyone afterwards, okay, we've addressed this like this and this like that, and if there's any more questions, someone might say, I've got a comment here, and say, okay, that's the same one as your colleague had, and we discussed this, and this is the way forward. And I'll be the glue that's kind of facilitating between all the reviewers, right?
Because like right now, the project I'm doing, we unfortunately there's still a need to do things on SharePoint, right? And we'll be saying like, oh, SharePoint is a collaborative work, right? But when you do see the track changes in a SharePoint of the same document, right? I see some smiles, right? I think you know the pain. Sometimes it's just you just want to say accept all the changes, right? And not think too much about it, because it's true. And sometimes because of internet connectivity, I do have a bad habit, like I'm working on an online document, I just close my laptop and chase the bus and go home, right? So sometimes in this situation, we do lose the data, as what Hans had mentioned before, right? And he used a very good word about consolidating comments, about having to have table discussion, right? Now, it may not sound a lot to you, but if you did do the math in a project for one document, if we need an engineer spending maybe 2 hours, 3 hours of his working time just to be doing these administrative tasks, right? Not value added, but essential thing to do to get the work going out. If you multiply that by a project, conservatively, 500 documents, you very quickly see how much time and equivalent to money that you can be saving by making the process more seamless. And that is where the paperless comes in.
I just thought of another little thing is, if you get, let's say, 4 documents back, a copy of the same document, got comments in each, you're saving all of them on your drives. And if you're not very diligent in your versioning and your control and the naming of your files, it's very easy to get lost in the files as well.
Yeah, and also if you guys can relate, after one round of review, when you have the second round of review, what you do, you want to compare, correct? Between what you have commented before and what is a new document. It's almost like spotting the difference, right? If you are better at using Word, you will use the compare document feature, but that itself could highlight all the changes in the document. It also makes it very cluttered, right? So going back, rewinding, and that is where the paperless digital system comes in. So with a tool like Neat, we can send the document to be reviewed to multiple parties that needs to be reviewing them at one go. Okay, so in doing so, all the comments are tracked, and we can be working collaboratively on one common platform without worry of track changes, because the versioning is properly controlled. You can compare between them after one version to another version. So that's one. Second, there's no need to be chasing people, because you can see from the platform itself if the status of the reviewer completed or not completed. So you do not need to manually track them.
Yeah, you might still have to chase them.
You might still have to chase them, right? It's easier. It makes the life a little bit easier. Okay? And let's say going through the approval process. Now, if you are using SharePoint for the document, right? Eventually, for approval, you may need to print it.
Should we, maybe, suggestion is, we spoke about the review.
Yeah.
Would it be okay if we show them, if we have an example in Neat, and we say, okay, this is how fast it can be done in Neat?
Has everyone seen Neat before? Okay, right, so just bear with me, we're just gonna give you a little. So this is Okay, stand there. Can you guys hear me without the mic? It's all the way to the end. Fine. Okay. Right. So as we're saying, the review process. Now I have a document over here that I've prepared beforehand. It will require me to log in. Now I've generated all these documents over here. You can see that they are in development. Okay. So take example an IQ. Okay, so that's the document. If I want to send it for review, I don't need to worry too much about versioning, putting it in SharePoint, putting it in the right place. After sharing them, I have to share the link, just too much to do. So in review, I can just add whoever I want. That as long as they have access to this workspace, I can say, okay, I want Hans to be reviewing it. I want Pierre to be reviewing it. So I will just say start. Probably I should put myself so I can show you how it is, right? So I can put myself in as well. For example, so that's how the document is set up for review. Don't have to send an email. Why? Because they will get an email notification directly from the platform saying, hey, you got something for you to review. Right? If the email they don't see it and they have access to it, they will come to me. There is something for them over here. Right? If it's too small, I'll make it bigger for people on the side. Right? There's a document for them to review. So I'll click on the for review. Anything at all. I can just say I don't like this. Right? I'll put a comment in there. That's a compare function which I was explaining before. Again. Right? So just insert a comment here. Please update this. Right? And as I put this comment here live, if Hans is in the same document, he can see me doing this exactly as this is happening. Right? So you can see that this is real online collaborative platform.
Yeah, I can see the same day or the day after who's gone into that document, who's started reviewing, who's found the time, how have they progressed through, are they halfway through, are they almost finished? I have visibility on what's going on, basically. And if June puts a comment and I'm like, maybe I don't agree with it, I can cross-functional with the team. I can say, actually, per this SOP from our site or from our company, we should be doing this, or I have extra information to add. So the engineer doesn't have to pull that information from a person and then be the bridge, which they will do always in the end of it, maybe a consolidated meeting. This way, it's actually live and visible.
So the takeaway from that first point is there is really time that we can save from this review and approval process. And if you do take them and sum it up together, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so the second point that we want to touch base about is execution. Paper versus paperless. We are watching the time now because 45 is when we need to clear the room. Right, so execution on paper. Anyone in this room still executing on paper? Okay, thanks. If not, I have no content. Right. So for paper execution, there is the pain point to it. Right. Printing out the protocol for one.
No ink,
out.
no paper, not connected to the printer. Spend half the day waiting for IT to come down.
Doc controller needs to consolidate the version coming out. And you would want to keep all the paper together. You are not confident splitting up different sections. You do one, he does another one. Don't like that. We talked about having GDP error, crossing, correcting, signing.
Losing pages.
Losing pages. Speaking about that, the attachment. I'm sure you don't enjoy stamping attachment 1 page out of 10 repeatedly.
Signing things.
Imagine a temperature mapping report, right? If you guys have done that. So that is one of the things that we touch very quickly on that. And with paperless, you are executing it whether on your laptop, whether on your tablet. Doesn't need to be an iPad because people's mind immediately go to iPad on his tablet, but not necessarily. As long as you can run Chrome, you can run Microsoft Edge, you are grand. Okay, so that is, and going in sense of paperless wise, because using a digital validation tool such as Lead, you do really get your GDP by design, right? So again, as I was saying at the power hour, about the legibility, because the way Hans writes is number 1, and the way I write my number 1 is very different, because his 1 has that little thing that makes it look like a 7 in an Asian context.
I've been told my 4s are 9 years old.
Right, exactly. Right. So the legibility is taken away, right? And about traceability, as you use the word itself, maybe I should use the word traceability because that's become L1++. So now it's about the attributable, right? I don't need to think about having people signing on the participant list or them forgetting to sign on the participant list, right? Because that is not a concern anymore. Using a tool like this, which is 21 CFR Part 11 compliant, we have the digital signature over there. Again, how does this translate into time, cost savings, right? You want to have a jab at it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So it actually comes down to execution, as in faster. You don't have to get your document into paper. It's right there. You have one button, one click. It's released for testing, and you've started. You can. It's always there in the same location as long as you go to the link in the browser. You don't have to store your document, find your document, manage that little document, and make sure that you're not missing any attachments or anything like that. It's all there in the cloud, so it reduces that time. You've got the audit trail generated automatically, so you don't, if you make an error or something, you have to note at the bottom, and maybe there's no more space, and you do a little bit here and a little bit there. You try to do the best you can. In Neat, the audit trail is right in there. Of course, when you sign the line and you have to correct it, you have to put a note, and there's a function for it, but it's all tracked automatically and fully.
I think to add to that, I think potentially the greatest savings is QA can spend more time not looking at GDP error, because those takes up a lot of time, a lot of eye power, which with a tool that ensures GDP by design, you really do save a lot of time from there. Okay? Now, I'm gonna just go a little bit quicker.
Faster, yeah.
Right? The third point we want to talk about storage, paper versus paperless. Right? For sure, right? You got like tons of paper, retention 15 years. You're not gonna have a compactor that can keep 15 years of data in there. Alright? You're gonna move them to outside storage. When you move out to outside storage, when you want to recall this document, what do you do? 7 days notice, 5 days notice. Hi, can you send this document? Somebody needs to go get them. Okay? So that is already number 1 thing that is easily relatable to everyone, because you have seen this before. Right? So with a digital system, it is there. You just click it and it is there. Okay? Right. So next. Now, we've gone through 3 points, right, to give you just a general food for thought about things that you can realize from cost savings of using it. Now, I want to say, like, in the humor and the seriousness and the points that we're trying to deliver, let's do a little survey to see, like, if we have been successful in influencing you to say, like, share this positive experience with us, right? Do you see that transitioning to paperless C&Q leads to increased savings? Oh. Somewhat. Well, in whichever terms that you think about. Stress, time, money, hair. Oh, you guys didn't get the joke. Okay. So I'm going to move another one. Right. What do you see as most significant cost saving benefit of transitioning to a paperless C&Q system? it's really food for thought. Don't take it too seriously, right? We just want to see like, okay, how can we drive you into thinking and considering it as we are making that transition. Okay. I think it's great, right? Enhance compliance and reduce risk of errors, right? Transcribing errors. Okay. So how do you perceive the initial investment in paperless tools can be? Again, like it may seem like, whoa, I'm spending money in that, but you have to think about the whole life cycle, like the whole life cycle cost of it, right? And something that we always talk about, the cost of not doing versus the cost of doing. Now, overall gain of paperless validation system, they are quite a bit, okay? And some may seem immediate benefit, some may seem like a benefit that will come after you make that initial assessment, initial investment, and continue to persevere on it, because it remains a tool. The organization needs to put in the effort to making this tool work for you. It's not going to be a magic bullet, right? So you need to identify what is the pain point and get forward with it. So the key takeaway, right? Think about your paperless digitalization as we go through today's ISPE session. We are sure to know digitalization is the way to go, and paperless is here to stay. Right? That's a big word of a true, because I feel that is the answer to what we're trying to say today, that paperless validation does really lead to cost saving. It is true, with certain caveats, of course, that there's an initial phase of investment and then you reap the profit later.
Yeah, and the thing is that you keep leveraging on that savings basically. Yeah. So once you implement, you might say you implement for this project and look how well we did on this one project, but it's there to stay. So every time you go back, every time you have those savings. And as June said, it's here to stay, right? So the cost of not doing it, we've all got tracks here on AI, etc. Going digital makes your data processable, let's say, right? So you can see that in Neat, they're working with something called entities, where you can put in specific data for those entities and for your equipment and your systems, and they become processable, right? And if something is on paper, you can't process it, obviously you can't really use that data. So this sets you up to leverage that data, get those insights out in whenever the software is mature enough to do so, right?
And in whichever tool that your company is using, right, whether it's Neat or some other system, don't try to limit yourself just for using Neat as a paperless validation, because that word itself could be restrictive, right? The system itself is as wide and as capable as you can imagine it to be. Some companies have a user case of using it becoming an electronic fetch record, right? Because what the tool needs to do is work for you, work for your system. Okay. On
Change
that
control.
note, change control.
Notebooks, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
On that note, we are 4 minutes over. Thank you very much for your attention. Sorry. Oh yes, there's one more slide, which is not like, subscribe, right? So it's just if you call for action for yourself, visit our booth, connect with Hans and myself, email us if you need anything. Okay. And a parting message to you is, in November, No Deviation is organizing a very interesting session on needs engagement, on how do we use it on a common topic. One topic that is really exciting for me is using needs for digital auditing, right? Because there's always been a question that the markets are asking, how do we do it? How can we limit the things that auditors can see? How do I not have to sit in front beside the auditor, sheepishly, oh no, you shouldn't see this. Right, so there's a new function in 9.2 onwards called collections. So watch out for No Deviation space. We will be covering some very exciting topics. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.